extended legal equality to LGBTQ Americans. Justice's views in both areas, of course, haven't always reflected the court's sharp ideological divide. We kind of watch that with bated breath. Mm-hmm. We've had Jack Phillips from Masterpiece Cake Shop on the show multiple times talking about his experience in dealing with the Supreme Court and what it was like to go through that process. A decision in this case, which is Creative LLC versus Lennis, is expected before July.
I can't believe this has gone all the way to the Supreme Court.
It has.
I mean, you do business who you want to do business with. I don't understand how that's a thing. I'm not trying to be an idiot or a jerk about it. Everybody has a choice, right?
Well, based on what the Supreme Court has extended and, these new regulations that are going to say that you can, be who you want to be and marry who you want to marry, then...
What's the deal?
It becomes an issue of discrimination.
All right, okay.
Number 2. Former President Donald Trump fueled controversy over the weekend, which is something he appears to be very, very good at, suggesting the parts of the U.S. Constitution should face termination. A CBS News correspondent, Robert Costa, reports on today's CBSNews.com. You can read it there. It was, of course, just the latest in a series of words and deeds from Mr. Trump that have Republicans trying to figure out what to do. Trump's latest comments, which were issued Saturday on Truth Social, that's a media platform, came in response to a report by journalist Matt Taibbi that showed Twitter employees deliberating back in October of 2020 about how to handle a New York Post article about a laptop belonging to Hunter Biden. Taibbi reported that both the Biden campaign and the Trump White House had communicated with Twitter about content on the platform. Trump claimed the conversations between Twitter and political officials had revealed a, quote, massive fraud so serious that it allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. By the way, he also called for a redo of the 2020 election. Number 3. A new study shows marijuana and hallucinogen use among young adults 19 to 30 years has increased to its highest levels since the late 1980s.
No surprise.
And as we talked about last week, there's a new study that indicates smoking marijuana may be significantly more harmful to your lungs than smoking cigarettes. Well, today, ABC News shares that between 2000 and 2020, reports to poison centers for child and teen marijuana use increased by, wait for it, 245%, according to a new study. Wow. Researchers analyzed more than 330,000 reports in the National Poison Data System over the last 20 years and found the increase in marijuana rates was the most of any substance, with that large increase between 2017 and 2020.
It's become legal.
It's a great idea.
Yep.
And that's what John Fetterman's been talking about all this time, and now he gets to talk about it in the Senate. And number 4, a 12-year-old baby boy left in a basket on a Garfield doorstop in 1932 has found his long-lost Pittsburgh family. Jim Scott wrote a Christmas wish to connect with his birth family in 2016. For the past 6 years, he's been putting together the pieces of what most of us take for granted, quote, a family. He's now 90 years old. He lives in Lafayette Hill, which is a little northwest of Philadelphia, and he came to Allegheny County on Saturday with 2 of his daughters to meet his new relatives. And that is your top 4 at 4.
It's funny. I read this article.
It's a fabulous story.
It sure is. They're talking about, you owe me 89 years of Christmas presents.
And cards. Mm-hmm. and birthday greetings.
And my brother has the same Jimmy Durante nose as I do.
Isn't that awesome? I mean, can you believe it?
No.
He was adopted before he can remember. It was in 1934 at the age of 2. He was named after the 2 cops that picked him up on the doorstep.
Wow.
And took him there. He said he had a wonderful childhood. His father was twice widowed before raising him as an only child in Crafton. And he said he loved his childhood. He was never neglected. He was always cared for. But as he went along and kind of figured out what was going on in his background, there were all these vacancies, and he wanted to know what was up. Anyway, because of Ancestry.com, it all kind of came together. He found a family, found siblings. I mean, you can read all the details of the story in today's trip.
I love it so much. All right, we'll take a quick break. Because it's Monday, we go straight to the White House. Greg Clugston from SRN News will join us in a few minutes. It's The Ride Home. We're Pittsburgh's Christian Talk on Ward FM 101.5.
101.5 Word FM, WORD.
What are the two biggest factors to a new believer growing successfully in their walk with God? Pastor Greg Laurie says it's spending time in God's Word and spending time learning directly from a believer who's older in the faith. That's what we'll be discussing this week on A New Beginning. Lessons on walking more closely with the Lord.
A New Beginning with Greg Laurie, weekday mornings at 10:30 on WORD.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hi, it's me, Marcia from the Springhouse. How are you? Hey, take a big whiff. Can you smell it? The real hickory wood burning long and slow in our smokehouse to smoke our old-fashioned hickory smoked hams. Have you ever tried a Springhouse smoked ham? The meat is so tender it falls right off the bone when it comes out of the oven. And the taste, a taste of days gone by. A Springhouse hickory smoked ham makes a great corporate gift in a big Springhouse box with a big red bow on top. Or how about for all those sage folks that remember smoking their own hams as youngsters? Give us a call at 724-228-3339 to order your whole or half hickory smoked ham from the Springhouse. Or check us out on the web at www.springhousemarket.com. And Merry Christmas from all of us at the Springhouse in 84 PA.
You're not who you were 25 years ago. Your life's more complex. People change, families change, and the law changes. This is Jay Hagerman of Abernathy & Hagerman, and a proper estate plan should keep up with those changes. That's why Abernathy & Hagerman presents free ongoing estate planning workshops with attorney Dan Reimer, someone who's really good at making complex concepts sound so simple, so you can protect what's yours and to ensure that your will is done. The next one's happening soon. For details and to attend, visit a-h.law.
We go now to the White House, where Greg Clugston joins us, SRN News White House correspondent. Greg, happy Monday to you. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you, John, Kathy. Good to be here. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Greg, when the president averted the rail strike last week, it was good news for all of us, of course, who want to get, all of our goodies for Christmas and don't want there to be a major wrench thrown in plans for the holidays. But I was surprised by it. I just thought, he was going to be the most pro-labor president ever. That's one of the things he said in the election. And I can't imagine how a lot of the country's unions are feeling about what he did.
Right. So there are 12 rail unions that had to sign on to this proposed settlement contract deal back in September. 8 of the 12 voted in favor of ratifying that contract. 4 unions said no. And their main sticking point, their main opposition was that there simply is not paid sick leave for workers. I think maybe 1 day of paid sick leave.
How can that be?
For an entire year. Yeah. And so that was a major sticking point. And 4 of the 12 unions, a third of them, said, look, no, we're not going with that. Well, as we got closer, a couple months went by, we got closer to the proposed strike deadline, which was going to be this week. And so last week you had the president, and you're right to say, Kathy, that he has endeared himself to be called the most pro-union or pro-labor president in U.S. history. But he said to Congress, we need you to intervene. We need you to pass a bill that he would sign into law that would essentially force the unions to accept that deal back in September over the opposition of those 4 unions. Now, the president said he was reluctant to do that, but felt that the greater good of the country in terms of the economy and the flow of supplies and goods and all that simply was more overpowering of a need in terms of that, even as he says he is in favor of paid sick leave for workers, whether they're rail workers or in any job. But it did create a very interesting dynamic between the president and unions, and we'll have to see how that relationship changes or doesn't change as we go forward.
Right. Now, Greg, I'm sure we can't dive into this too deeply, but you wonder, I mean, the union, people who have a union, is to protect the worker and to provide, quality of life. How can any union okay just one sick day for 365 days a year? It just seems a little incomprehensible.
Right. Well, when you talk to representatives from those 4 unions that said no to that deal, they would agree with exactly how you laid that out, John, saying it's simply not acceptable. The thinking from the rest of the union workers, or enough of the rest of the union workers to ratify that deal, was that, well, okay, we didn't get the paid sick leave time that we're looking for, but we got 24% pay raise over however many years, and other increased benefits, including especially that pay component. So
that's big.
The White House argument was that this Biden administration brokered deal back in September was better than anything that rail workers had seen in terms of a contract proposal in years, if not ever. So they were just saying, look, we didn't get all the way, we got a lot of the way, and so let's take as much as we can, and we'll try to deal with paid sick leave down the line.
Very nice. Greg Clugston is with us from the White House. Greg, busy week. The Supreme Court is in session right now, and they are hearing arguments in a case that happened today, which is of interest to Christians.
Absolutely. This is dealing with a Christian graphic artist from Colorado. Her name is Lori Smith. She runs a company, and she wants to design these websites, but she doesn't want to do customized website design that promotes same-sex weddings. And so that's the sticking point. There is a law, an anti-discrimination law applied to businesses and the sort in Colorado. And so there's the conflict. And she has lost her legal cases all the way up until today, reaching to the Supreme Court. There were a couple of hours of oral arguments late this morning, early afternoon. And it appeared, and I listened to about an hour of those arguments, it appeared that the majority of the Supreme Court justices, which of course leans conservative, seem to be somewhat sympathetic to the case of Lori Smith, which she basically says is a free speech issue, that the First Amendment would protect her even as a business owner in this particular case. She and her lawyer and legal team essentially arguing that she is not discriminating against people who are in same-sex relationships or support same-sex weddings, but that she, as a Christian believer, believes that promoting that message, no matter who the client is, runs counter to her personal Christian faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so kind of weighing whether it's an issue of discrimination against the client, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which the state has already guaranteed, or it's an issue of free speech or even religious freedom for her. That'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Now, I'm thinking, I read today that the decision will be released probably in the summer, early July, something like that.
Probably, yeah. Usually the end of the Supreme Court term is the end of June, so often those big cases get pushed in terms of mid to late June. Yes.
Greg Clugston with us, SRN News White House correspondent. Over the weekend, former President Donald Trump made headlines again, which, as I said earlier in the program, he's certainly skilled at doing. Let's talk about the latest dust-up with the president and how he thinks this is a time of such seriousness that the Constitution needs to be tossed.
Yeah, he, of course, is still fighting the results of the 2020 presidential election. And he really took it to a different level in terms of his argument over the weekend when he was writing on social media that he believes, because of what he describes as massive election fraud, that it requires something that a lot of people were very surprised to some degree, and if not surprised, disappointed to hear him say. And that was that he said all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution, of the United States should be terminated to respond to what he called massive election fraud. So that, of course, goes against the oath of office that a president or any other lawmaker would take when they agree to uphold the U.S. Constitution. And so this seems to be a bridge too far for some Republicans, although there has not been any sort of outcry from a lot of members of the GOP here in Washington or in Congress, for example. Those that have been asked, members of the Republican Party, especially those on some of the Sunday talk shows yesterday, for example, they did distance themselves from those Trump remarks, but there has not been an overwhelming backlash from the GOP so far about those comments.
And Kevin McCarthy, who hopes to ascend to the majority leadership chair, he himself have said the first day that they'll be in power, as the Republicans will be in power, they will read from the floor the Constitution of the United States, which, of course, now we have sort of a kerfuffle here, right? There's a little opposition. Are we following the Constitution or not?
Yeah, so you have this tension between elements of the Republican Party, especially in Washington, D.C., and Donald Trump, who, of course, is the most recent Republican president. He still holds a lot of sway among a lot of Republican voters across this country. A lot of conservative voices that align with what Donald Trump supports. And so there is this ongoing tension. And of course, whether or not Kevin McCarthy gets the speakership, and he's trying very hard to get to that, 218 votes that he'll need in early January, he's going to have tension even just within his own House caucus of Republican officials, lawmakers, let alone, dealing with the whole Donald Trump issue as well. So he's got a lot on his plate.
Be careful what you ask for. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about elections and South Carolina and Iowa. It looks as though the Democrats are saying, we know that Iowa has been the first state to hold presidential primaries, but we're going to move forward now and have South Carolina do this. Is this a certainty, Greg?
It's not a certainty, but it is what the White House wants. The president made this known to the Democratic National Committee late last week. And so the committee then at the national level has to deal with individual states and state legislatures and things. So there still is a logistical procedure that has to be dealt with in terms of whether or not they can reshuffle the calendar. But in a lot of cases, this can happen. But it would essentially upend years, if not decades, really, of having the caucuses in Iowa kick the presidential selection process off, followed by the New Hampshire first in the nation primary, and then it has been Nevada and South Carolina. What's been interesting is when you look back, just rewind to that 2020 election, Joe Biden finished 4th place in Iowa.
Wow.
5th place in New Hampshire, and South Carolina is what he won and is really seen as turning his presidential campaign around, because up until that point he was in the mix down low, and a lot of people weren't giving him a chance. And so there is a personal advantage in some ways should Joe Biden announce his run for re-election, and by all measures he's going to. He has said he intends to do that. There would be a personal benefit potentially for him to have South Carolina first out of the gate.
That's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure the people in Iowa have that as a point of pride.
Heck,
and
yeah.
the Iowa caucus is such a big thing. It's been a big thing for, I don't know,
decades.
More than decades. So I can't imagine that representatives are going to take too kindly to that there.
Well, no. In fact, there are some officials in both Iowa and New Hampshire are upset with that. The argument that the White House will make, and that others have been making for a number of years, is that they don't see Iowa and New Hampshire, which are more predominantly white populations, as best representative of the diversity of voters across the country, and that they have the first say in this presidential selection process.
Which basically just means that those places that Iowa's swinging Republican now.
Sure. Well, that's right. I mean, Iowa tends to be, obviously more conservative, although there's an argument that for the Democratic Party in Iowa, they sometimes skew more liberal than other Democrats in other parts of the country. So you can kind of swing both ways. But yeah, those two states are not happy with this proposal from the White House and the Democratic National Committee.
Winding up our segment with Greg Clugston live from the White House. Greg, I saw a news story today because, you know, we always like to, at the conclusion of our time together, go off in a little bit of a different direction. A news story reports about Uncle Chen. He's a 50-year-old marathon runner, just finished a race in China, 574th place, beating nearly 1,000 other participants. So 574, you think he's pretty far down, but not when you know how many people ran this race. He actually did very well. The reason he has made news today is because he did the whole marathon while chain smoking.
Wow. I had not heard that.
Yes, that's why you tune into the ride home.
Yeah. Greg.
Smokers everywhere. Reminds me of an old Saturday Night Live skit from years ago with Jim Belushi or something.
Yeah, except it's real. So he did this in under 3.5 hours. And it's
Uncle Chen.
Yes, Uncle Chen. And this is the second time he has run a marathon while chain smoking.
Really? How old is he?
He's 50 years old. Yeah, there's a photograph of him. I'd like to, show everybody where he's just doing his thing. So, Greg, my first question for you is, are you a runner?
No, I have run in the past. I've run some 5Ks, a handful of them. But I stopped running 4 or 5 years ago. But I was a very casual runner and a reluctant runner.
You were forced into it.
If running is involved in playing basketball, for example, or ultimate frisbee,
sure,
I get that. But just running by itself, I never caught the fever.
I agree.
Okay. Can you imagine doing any of those activities you just mentioned while chain smoking?
No. I mean, the short answer is no.
No. And have you ever chain smoked, I guess is the next question.
No, but if I start, then maybe I'll take up running again.
There's hope for the future. Very nice.
Exactly. Good to talk to you, Greg.
Yes, Greg. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Our great pleasure. Greg Clugston, SRN News White House correspondent. He's on top of the nation's news for our Salem Radio Network. We'll take a quick break, step away. How about a pair of Levi's that may be the most expensive ever, found in a shipwreck, up for auction? What's that story about?
You've got advanced prostate cancer, but you're not waiting around. You want straight talk, the facts about Orgovix.
Orgovix Relagolix 120 milligram prescription tablets is a treatment for adults with advanced prostate cancer. Fact: Orgovix is a different kind of androgen deprivation therapy treatment, a pill, not an injection. Orgovix may cause serious side effects, including a heart condition called QT prolongation. Tell your doctor right away if you feel dizzy, faint, have a racing or pounding heart, or chest pain. Orgovix can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during treatment and for 2 weeks after Orgovix treatment. The most common side effects include hot flushes, increased blood sugar and blood fat levels, muscle and joint pain, decreased blood hemoglobin levels, increased liver enzymes, tiredness, constipation, and diarrhea. Other side effects include weight gain, decreased sex drive, and erectile function problems. Orgovix may cause infertility. Talk to your doctor if infertility is a concern for you.
Go with Orgovix. Ask your doctor. For more facts, visit gowiththefacts.com.
MyPillow is excited to announce the original My Slippers are back in stock. Hey, it's John Hall. Last Christmas, you made My Slippers the #1 selling MyPillow product, and now they've added smaller sizes, larger sizes, wide sizes, and all new colors. What makes My Slippers different is the exclusive 4-layer design that you're not going to find in any other slippers. My Slippers' patented layers make them ultra comfortable, extremely durable, and they help relieve the stress on your feet. Wear them anytime, anywhere, and save $90 off with promo code WORD. That's only $49.98 a pair. You'll absolutely love My Slippers, and now they're also extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2023, making them the best Christmas gift ever. So go to MyPillow.com, use promo code WORD, or call 800-391-0954 now. Again, use promo code WORD to save $90 on the original My Slippers. That's only $49.98 a pair. Quantities won't last long, so please order now.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and my company is Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 to provide custom blinds, shades, and shutters at affordable prices. Our blinds are easy to install and shipping is free. Don't hire an expensive professional. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
In those days, 10 men from all the nations will take hold of the garment of a Jew and say, "We want to go with you, for we know that God is with you." Join Messianic Jewish evangelist Rabbi Kurt Schneider as he shares authentic teaching from the Old and New Testaments, unfolding revelation today for your brighter tomorrow on Discovering the Jewish Jesus.
Monday through Friday at 1:30 p.m. here on 101.5 Word FM.
101.5 WORD FM Pittsburgh. On your smart speaker by saying, play the word Pittsburgh. And on your phone via the Word FM mobile app, iHeart, TuneIn, and Odyssey.
We'll see thickening clouds tonight with a touch of rain late, low 39. Occasional rain and drizzle tomorrow, tomorrow's high 49. Considerable cloudiness tomorrow night with a couple of showers, mainly later, low 47. Wednesday, cloudy and milder with a shower. We'll reach a high Wednesday of 58. Cloudy skies Thursday. Expect a high Thursday of 52. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm Drew Shannon.
A favorite pair of jeans?
I do.
They're valuable to you, aren't they?
I have to tell you that I could wear jeans every day for the rest of my life.
Me too.
And never need another pair of pants.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there is a pair of jeans that are up for auction this weekend, which auctions may estimate $1 million. $1 million
that
for
has to be a great pair of jeans.
Pair of jeans.
For crying out loud.
So here's the story. There was a.
Oh wait, this is the one on the ship. Right.
There was a shipwreck in the 1850s, and a couple was on a honeymoon. Now this was before the Panama Canal was erected. They were in California. They took a steamship from California to South Carolina.
Wow.
Imagine that journey.
Wow. So all the way around.
Yep, all the way around.
Holy cow.
So while they were getting close to the Carolinas, there was a massive storm and the steamship sunk. Now, the wife, she, along with some other women on the boat, they were ferried off the boat, and she was in the boat looking at her husband sink into the sea. After 8 hours in the ocean, kind of like last week's story, he survived. But the ship, replete with 500 pounds of gold, disappeared under the murky waters. Well, about 10 years or so ago, the ship was found, and of course, then there were legal fights over who owned the ship. Insurance companies stepped forward. A lot of different people made claims to this. The jeans, and along with other accoutrements, including smoking jackets, gowns, things like that, lay at the bottom of the ocean for all these many years. And because they were in such cold, murky waters, they have survived. Stained, but still supple in cloth-like condition. So this weekend, as I said, $1 million perhaps is on this first pair ever, 5-button fly Levi's jeans. The company was founded in 1853. The jeans are from 1854. I don't know how they know that.
Wow.
So if you were a Levi's aficionado.
I wonder what the cut of jeans were like. Is it for the husband or the wife?
It was for the husband.
Okay.
So
because of course, what a stupid question.
Right.
Like a woman's going to be wearing jeans in 1850.
You can imagine there wasn't much of a cut to them, right? They probably were box-like, big and bulky.
Yeah.
It wasn't fashion. It was more like work pants.
Right. Boy, that's fascinating.
$1 million for a pair of jeans.
Wow. I just finished watching 1899, which is the new Netflix show.
Yeah.
I talked about it on Friday. We watched it over Thanksgiving. This made by the German production team that made Dark over COVID. And it's not something for kids, but it really is a fascinating show. It's 8 episodes, and the production of it, because it takes place on a ship, was so spectacular to watch. I couldn't get over it. They actually produced the making of 1899 that has just come out on Netflix. But the clothing that they're wearing is so fabulous, and it goes into great detail about how each garment was made.
Mm-hmm.
And they also made all of their boots and shoes for the show. I mean, it's just a spectacular thing. You can imagine what it would be like to be on a steamship at that time.
Well, it's one of the great
and
things
none of the women were wearing Levi's.
No, of course not. But it's one of the great things about being an actor, because in every theater,
you just
there's a seamstress, and they make clothes from the ground up.
It's incredible.
And you become who you are. Yes, very nice. Okay, we'll take a quick break, come back. We're going to talk about Bono. The rock and roller's got an autobiography out.
Yeah, a lot of people love it. I'm sure a lot of people hate it, too.
Carl Trueman will chime in on that next.
101.5 WORD.
Turning Point with David Jeremiah.
As they left the manger, they couldn't keep quiet about what they had seen. They told everybody. Their lives would never again be the same. The sky would never again seem so dark. They would know that just as they had kept watch over their flocks, there was now somebody keeping watch over them.
Join Dr. David Jeremiah for his series, Why the Nativity, next time on Turning Point.
This evening at 7:30 on 101.5 WORD.
This holiday season, why not give the gift of a good night's sleep? This is Greg Trzynski, and at the Original Mattress Factory, our factory direct business model allows us to provide a better quality product at a better price than mainstream mattress retailers. We hand build our products in our own local factories and sell them directly to you in our own stores. Not only does this save you money, it also means we can offer local delivery or arrange in-store pickup on most items by the holidays. Visit an OMF location today for a better night's sleep this Christmas.
When you need your dollar to go further, you need the Original Mattress Factory. We hand build our mattresses and box springs in our factories and sell them factory direct in our own stores. We cut out the middleman and pass the savings on to you. You get a better quality mattress at a better price compared to mainstream brands. When your wallet is feeling the squeeze everywhere from the gas pump to the grocery store, real value is more important than ever. Visit an Original Mattress Factory location today to see our factory direct difference for yourself.
45 years of God's Word.
The Word of God is going to show me where to go and where not to go.
Truth.
If God is not in absolute control of all things, who is?
Wisdom.
Obey God, leave all the consequences to Him.
Watch Dr. Stanley anytime on Local Now throughout your day. Your trusted source for biblical teaching. In Touch Plus, streaming free on Local Now. Go to intouch.org/plus to find out more.
Doug. Hey, listener. Welcome to Limu's Karaoke Lounge, where Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need, and the music never stops. Hit it.
There's an emu with a full-time job. His partner's Doug, but Limu's the heartthrob. Grubs and worms, that's what Limu eats. Gotta fuel up to save you money and hit the streets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Your local radio stations are here for you. No subscriptions or monthly fees necessary. We're here to give you the news, weather, and traffic you need, and the music you love. But if the foreign-owned record labels get their way, it could stop the music. They want Congress to force radio stations to pay them more money, simply to play their music. Don't let radio go silent. Text LOCAL to 52886 and tell Congress to protect local radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
My brother is 6 years older than I, and I remember a very heated conversation when I was a young kid, and my father and brother were arguing about the Rolling Stones. And of course, it's been many, many decades. I can't remember the exact words, but essentially my father, in very angry tones, was yelling at my brother about the Rolling Stones, essentially saying, those are not good boys, and you are a good boy. And that was my first real introduction into the danger of rock and roll. Because rock and roll...
Yeah, so your dad looked at that and you thought your dad thought that was something to be careful of.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we grew up at the knee of Frank Sinatra, which is a whole other story. But, to think about...
Yeah, it's not like Frank was killing
exactly.
it in his,
right.
in a personal moral crusade.
Maisie Dotes and, right.
Maisie Dotes.
So... The Rolling Stones were bad boys, and that's how rock and roll was built upon, the persona of
Elvis.
These guys are dangerous.
Right, Beatles.
Right? Well, Bono, And U2, Bono's been around for many, many decades. Was it last week, released his memoirs. Here to talk to us about Bono, Christianity, and the bad boys of rock and roll is Carl Trueman. Carl joins us from Grove City College, where he's part of the Department of Biblical and Religious Studies. He teaches courses on the history of religious thought. He's the author of the new book, Strange New World, How Thinkers and Activists Redefined Identity and Sparked the Sexual Revolution. Carl, welcome back to the show.
It's great to be back. And I have to say, I'm both a huge early Rolling Stones and a Frank Sinatra fan.
So you've bridged that gap, Carl.
Straight away.
Yes.
All right. So, Carl, and forgive me for forgetting your personal timeline, but did you grow up in the UK?
Yes, I didn't move to the United States until I was in my mid-30s.
Okay.
Just over 20 years ago.
Okay, so of course the Stones have to be near and dear to you, right? Along with the Who and the Beatles and all of that. What was your relationship with rock when you were growing up?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I've always been something of a rock nostalgia guy in the 1980s and beyond. I was really into stuff that was being produced in the 1960s, I suppose. I mean, I love the Rolling Stones, but tends to be the stuff before Brian Jones left the band and died. So Elvis was huge as well. I was already a rock nostalgia guy, even in the 1980s.
Yeah. Okay. So then U2 came onto the scene, maybe like late 70s, early 80s. What's your connection to Bono and U2?
Well, I became a Christian in the early 1980s, and for Christians of my generation, U2 seemed to offer it all, in that it was good music. It wasn't the kind of dreadful Christian rock music that didn't really sound like rock music. At the same time, it was supposed to be this sort of deep and profound reflection on existence and on God that came through in the lyrics. So for guys of my generation, U2 seemed to be the full package, spiritual and good music at the same time.
Yeah.
But you're not a fan?
Not anymore, no.
All right, so when did you and Bono, when did your paths diverge?
Well, I think the watershed moment for me was actually attending a concert they did on their Joshua Tree tour in 1987 at Wembley Stadium. I went with some friends, and it was an all-day thing.
I bet it was.
And I was struck at how much better Shane MacGowan and the Pogues, the kind of the Anglo-Irish folk punk band, were than U2. It seemed to me that, and what I noticed there was U2 take themselves very seriously. Shane MacGowan and his buddies were just having fun, and it was very clear to me, rock's more about having fun than it is about profound analyses of existence.
Yes. But then, as you say, Bono and U2, they sort of encompass Christianity. Their message of redemption, sort of, every album sort of kind of had a theme to it. It became a worldwide phenomenon, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And another thing that struck me that day in 1987 at Wembley Stadium was, on the one hand, you had these lyrics that were aspiring to talk about redemption, etc., etc., but it was very clear it was having absolutely no impact on the people around me at all. They were there for the music and the fun, if you like. They were not there to parse the deeper meaning of Sunday, Bloody Sunday, or I still haven't found what I'm looking for, or something like that.
Dr. Carl Trueman is with us. He's the author of the new book, Strange New World, How Thinkers and Activists Redefined Identity and Sparked the Sexual Revolution. You can also check out his longer book, The Rise and Triumph of the Modern Self, Cultural Amnesia, Expressive Individualism, and The Road to Sexual Revolution. Carl, when I think about U2, of course, I think about from whence they came. And I'm just wondering about the music, the art, the poetry, whatever that comes out of that clash between Catholicism and Protestantism. And I know that you're, very well read on the Reformation and all of that. And so I wonder if you can speak to that. If any of that rings true to you, or how you think that we can read that as people who are kind of cultural imbibers.
Yeah, I think certainly the Protestant-Catholic tensions within Ireland come through in a number of their albums, a number of their songs. I've already mentioned Sunday, Bloody Sunday, which of course is connected to the clash between Irish protesters and British paratroopers in the early 1970s. It's very much rooted in that. So I think there's definitely an Irish context for understanding U2. And also, a little bit like Bob Dylan, there's a lot of biblical inflections in their songs. I think of the song 40, which was essentially based upon Psalm 40. So, yeah, there's definitely a religious ethos and a religious background to what they write. Whether they execute it particularly profoundly, I'm not sure. I was chatting to somebody yesterday, and I would say, if you go to some of the early Bruce Springsteen albums, the Nebraska album, and listen to My Father's House, I don't think U2 ever produce a song that is as spiritually provocative and profound as My Father's House by Bruce Springsteen. Again, I guess with Springsteen, the background is his American Catholicism. But certainly don't want to deny the religious background and the importance of that for U2's music.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting we're talking about U2 because last night the Kennedy Center honors were held and U2 was honored. And reading about it, well, one of the masters of ceremonies was the comedian Barat, and he introduced them as Me Too. And then he said, your wretched album is still on my iPhone. Please get it off.
Remember that when everybody got a free album?
Yeah.
And of course, last night, Amy Grant inducted, given the Kennedy Center honors as well. What's your feeling about Christian music, Carl?
Well, he kind of said when he came in, you didn't like it at all, Carl, right?
Well, I didn't like the sort of the Christian rock music of the 80s. Stryper, for example,
sort
of haunt my nightmares. But I think Christian music can be done well. I mean, if we move out beyond the narrow confines of rock music, some of the greatest music in the world is Christian music. Bach's Mass in B minor, Palestrina, and even within the rock music world, I think it's possible to do songs. I think the occasional song that really strikes a deep spiritual note, but most of the time I think rock music is about fun, and it works best when people assume it's a distraction, it's a bit of fun. Yeah. It's something that allows a little bit of escapism, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
No, I agree.
Carl, so talk about your feeling about how Bono and U2 weighed in on issues in Ireland, particularly those related to gay marriage and abortion.
Yeah, well, they were pro gay marriage and pro the repeal of Ireland had very restrictive laws protecting the unborn, and they weighed in on both of those issues on what I would regard as absolutely the wrong side. And if you look at their reasoning for doing so, it wasn't particularly profound reasoning. It was classic contemporary expressivist culture kind of reasoning. We don't want people's freedom inhibited. Well, this feels good. There's nothing really that separated U2's logic in those debates from the logic of the world around us. And I think the danger, of course, is that when people think of them as a Christian band, then when U2 say things that are A, not Christian, and B, frankly, very superficial, if not silly and stupid, people are likely to be pulled in by that.
Right. Well, Carl, considering the tone of our conversation, I don't imagine you'll be getting a copy of Bono's Surrender for Christmas, will you?
Probably not. I'm semi-tempted by Bob Dylan's new book, but definitely not Bono.
Fabulous.
That's Dr. Carl Trueman. Carl, our best holiday wishes to you, and thank you so much for being willing to join us on a monthly basis. Hope you have a wonderful time with your family.
Likewise. Thanks very much.
Our pleasure.
That's Carl Trueman. Check out Strange New World, How Thinkers and Activists Redefined Identity and Sparked the Sexual Revolution.
Or Bono's new memoir, Surrender.
My grandma is one of my heroes, and one thing we did together was Bob Barker and The Price is Right. Grandma knew the cost of everything, but here's how I think she would do today.
Grandma, name the price of these hot dogs and win a brand new car.
Those are definitely $2.49.
So sorry. These hot dogs are now 4 monthly payments of $19.99. Too bad.
It's Ryan from United Faith Mortgage, and the cost of everything is crazy, and the holidays only make things harder. But there still is one big positive, and that's the skyrocketing home values of the last few years. For many, today is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to cash out some of the new money their home earned to help with the crazy. And the strategy is take advantage of the cash out today and refinance tomorrow when rates settle back down. They've already dropped an ounce as of late. If you're curious about your options,
We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Mortgage Corp, Melville, New York. NMLS number 1330. Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Securities. Mortgage lender license 22672.
For most of us, it's hard to even look at. We've all seen the images of a hungry child. She can barely move because that hunger has left her exhausted, lifeless. There's a name for this. It's severe acute malnutrition. Save the Children works in poor areas and cares for the child you're thinking of right now. But they can't do it without you. Just $30 a month can help save children for less than $1 a day, whether it's providing emergency nutrition or protecting children fleeing from the war in Ukraine, or a child in need in any of the other 120 countries around the world where Save the Children works. Your $30 a month can change everything for a child who's suffering. Call 888-884-4836. That's 888-884-4836, or give online at savechildrentoday.org.
Alistair Begg is leading a spectacular 9-day Mediterranean cruise August of 2023, and our trusted partner Inspiration Cruises and Tours. Explore the biblical landscapes Paul encountered, where he shared the gospel along historic cliffside villages. Renew your vision, purpose, and connection with Christ as Alistair powerfully unpacks God's Word. For details, simply call 855-565-5519. Or log on to deeperfaithcruise.com.
Did you know there's physical evidence for the birth of Christ as told in the Bible? Your friends at cybercoins.net can help you keep Christ in Christmas this year with gifts of authentic coins left behind by the wise men, King Herod, and a special prophetic coin that bore witness to the coming star of Bethlehem. Visit our store in Dormont or shop online at cybercoins.net to see a museum-quality display of authentic coins that were eyewitness to the events of the Nativity. cybercoins.net.
We often talk about how old do you feel, right? I always tend to say, well, if you're a certain age, which makes Kath,
drives me
her
out of my
eyes kind
mind.
of, go, what the heck are you talking about? How old do you feel if you're a certain age? Well, studies are finding a link between people's subjective age or their psychological age and their future health and longevity.
All right.
Psychological age can differ from chronological age. I'm reading from today's Wall Street Journal. Some psychologists and gerontologists say that there might be ways to improve physical health by making yourself feel younger, or at least taking a positive attitude towards your aging. Feeling older than your chronological age is associated with a higher likelihood of dementia, frailty, and stroke and heart disease, according to a recent study by scientists and academics. Some research has focused on the correlation between attitudes and mortality. They've linked positive feelings about aging and feeling younger than you actually are with a longer life. Now, in one study, a German study of 2,400 adults over more than 20 years, participants who said they expected to continue to grow and develop into old age lived on average 13 years longer than those who didn't expect such growth.
I thought you were going to say like 6 weeks.
Yep, 13 years. Quote, it's really good and important to feel younger. If it is soft protection, if I feel younger, I'm more motivated to be engaged and active, says Suzanne Worm, professor of University of Griswold and author of the study published earlier this year in the journal Psychology Today. Participants in the experiments, such as traveling or taking classes, resisting negative assumptions about getting older, might help you feel younger and improve your outlook, researchers say.
You're reading that from?
Today of Wall Street Journal.
All right, I like it.
The mind is very powerful, isn't it?
Well, I was thinking,
I feel young.
In particular, when it talked about lower rates of dementia,
stroke.
I think I can understand that. But when it gets to stroke and heart disease, you think that seems like a physiological pattern,
right?
Not a psychological pattern. Right. And then you realize, I guess, that it's all connected.
Wait, like I'm going to eat cheeseburgers and fries and I feel younger about it, so that will negate the results? I don't think so. It doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, but isn't it funny to think that your attitude could affect your heart health?
Yeah, of course. But how much truth is that? I don't know.
Well, you just read an article from the Wall Street Journal.
It's one
so
study,
I trust it.
Right?
But so you're not buying it?
If they did multiple studies, right? I mean, just one study's one study.
Okay, what about people you know who are older? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that bears out?
Well, I mean, my wife and I talk about this a lot. We know people who are in their 80s. And my wife will go, that's my target. What she does, how she acts, what she eats, that's who I'm trying to follow along in the footsteps of.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, people who are like that, who are more engaged in how they eat, exercise, they tend to have a more positive. So maybe it's, the two things combined, that they go hand in hand. If you exercise, if you read, if you engage socially, if you're not sitting at home eating Doritos every night and sitting on your couch and don't go outside and engage with the world, that's going to make a big difference.
Right.
What about you? I mean,
well, when I think about people who are maybe 20 or 30 years older than me, I think about, a serious disease or sickness can derail anybody. And it doesn't matter how good their attitude is.
Right.
It does not matter.
But I would imagine the good attitude helps them as they process through that.
You read my mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's the next thing I was going to say. My mom in particular, did she not have the best attitude?
Oh, my gosh. She was top of the world. Every time you saw Nanny.
Yep.
Right? She was as sweet and as positive as a person could be.
Yep. And she always talked about how excited she was to go to her new address, which was her, slang for heaven.
Yep.
She knew that was, but she was always, I think about so many, countless. And when I say countless, I mean thousands of times. I would say, how are you? And she'd say, I'm content. I'm very content.
My mom was pretty much the same way. My dad, I remember one time my dad got sick and he said to my sister, I'm a goner. And I always thought that. I think, you just imposed a death sentence on yourself, Dad.
Yeah. And then you're not doing anyone around you any favors or yourself either.
Yeah. I wonder if it's more of if it's a sex thing. If women are more positive in their old age as opposed to men, right? Because women live longer. I don't know, but I just wonder about that.
Look up that study, maybe.
All right. Take a quick break. 5 o'clock hour. The science of giving thanks to God. How gratitude increases your life.
Listen on your smart speaker at wordfm.com, the Word FM app, iHeart, TuneIn, and on Odyssey. In your car or at home, too, at 101.5 WORD-FM, Pittsburgh.
Shall advisor before investing.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. The Supreme Court hearing the case of a Christian graphic artist who objects to designing wedding websites for gay couples. Alliance Defending Freedom CEO Kristen Wagner argued on behalf of Lori Smith.
If the government may not force motorists to display a motto, school children to say a pledge, or parades to include banners, Colorado may not force Ms. Smith to create and speak messages on pain of investigation, fine, and re-education.
Case is the latest clash of religion and gay rights to land at the highest court. The runoff election coming up Tuesday. Raphael Warnock, the first black U.S. Senator from Georgia, looking to win a full 6-year term in the runoff against another black man, GOP challenger Herschel Walker. The Dow is down 538 points, the NASDAQ off 252. This is SRN News.
Hi, I'm Al Abaroa, founder of Knight Strategic Wealth. Inflation is a problem, markets are volatile, and the risk of running out of money in retirement is real. That's why I love annuities, and you should too. Your financial advisor doesn't want you to know that with our annuity strategy, when the stock market goes up, you earn a market-linked return that locks in every year, and when the stock market goes down, your annuity won't lose a dime. There are no unnecessary fees, and it works for your investments, money at a brokerage firm, or even money at a bank. It's simple, it's safe, and you should only invest if you learn the facts. And that's why savvy investors work with us. Want to learn more? Text FREE to 833-898-0500, and we'll send our retirement readiness kit directly to your phone right now. If you want to use safe, low-fee annuities to build a retirement portfolio that will go up with the market and never lose money, get our retirement readiness kit today and see how this strategy can help secure your future. Text FREE to 833-898-0500. Text FREE to 833-898-0500.
What's the best product I bought this year? Oh, that's easy. Salonpas pain-relieving patches. The proven medicines in Salonpas patches reduce my pain and let me do the things I need to do every day.
In a recent clinical study, patients using Salonpas reported improved sleep, mood, and the ability to work. They had less pain and were able to reduce their use of oral pain medications.
For pain, I use Salonpas. It's good medicine.
Meet Brad. Brad's hard at work, or at least his website is. Ever since he added live chat with Salem Surround, Brad's customers are getting their questions answered 24/7. Website purchases have gone up 35%, and they're over 3 times more likely to buy from him again. No bots, just real people helping real people. Live chat. One of the easiest, most affordable ways Salem Surround can increase your business while you do other things, or nothing at all. Ask us how at surroundpittsburgh.com.
The holidays are upon us. Folks are heading downtown to shop and see the sights. But the most stunning place just might be First Presbyterian Church of Pittsburgh, with our sanctuary all decked out for Christmas. Best of all, we celebrate what Christmas really means. So come, bring your family and friends for Sunday worship, 1045 326th Avenue. Then stay downtown to eat and shop. The true light of Christmas shines at First Presbyterian Church.
This is Tim Seckler inviting you to tune in each and every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. right here on Word FM 101.5 for the Life and Legacy Show, sponsored by my law firm, the Seckler Law Firm. Each week, we'll talk about your family's well-being as it relates to elder law, nursing home stays, estate planning, and keeping your hard-earned savings. And if you missed the Life and Legacy Show, you will find it archived at secklerlawfirm.com. See you Saturday morning at 9 a.m. right here on Word FM 101.5 for the Life and Legacy Show.
We'll see thickening clouds tonight with a touch of rain late, low 39. Occasional rain and drizzle tomorrow. Tomorrow's high 49. Considerable cloudiness tomorrow night with a couple of showers, mainly later, low 47. Wednesday, cloudy and milder with a shower. We'll reach a high Wednesday of 58. Cloudy skies Thursday. Expect a high Thursday of 52. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm Drew Shannon.
Welcome to another edition of The Ride Home with John and Kathy, live from the Salem-Pittsburgh studios. And now here are your hosts, John Hall and Kathy Emmons.
Happy Monday to you. Thanks for coming along today as the sun sets. I saw a film a couple of weeks ago called The Fabelmans, and it is essentially a story loosely based on Steven Spielberg's adolescence.
Made by Spielberg.
Yeah, made by Spielberg, yeah. And central to the story is his Jewishness. The movie opens with the young Steven Spielberg, probably 7 or 8 years old, in the back seat of the family car. And they're driving through the neighborhood where they live, and it's Christmas time. And all the houses are lit with Christmas lights. And the young actor playing Spielberg says, "Why can't we have Christmas lights?" And his mother, played beautifully by Michelle Williams, says, "Well, we're Jewish, and so we don't celebrate Christmas like the rest of our neighbors." Mm-hmm. And essentially, the exact quote escapes me, but the young Steven Spielberg says, "Well, it looks like to be a Jew lives in darkness." And from that point forward, you get to see, this is really a fascinating movie because it's written by Steven Spielberg, And so you get to see what anti-Semitism was like in the 1950s and the 1960s. The family, they moved from New Jersey to Arizona and then finally to California. And all of those stops along the way, Spielberg has a story to tell about his Jewishness. Finally, the last stop along the journey is whenever they get to California, and he's a high school, a kid in high school, and the anti-Semitism that he's subjected to. I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say it's persecution. He is beaten up. He's ridiculed on a regular basis. Wow. They call him Bagelman. There's a scene at the locker where they beat on him, and he opens up his locker, and there's a bagel hanging by a piece of string, and it says "Jew boy" on it. I mean, it's only through the perseverance and the joy that, especially the mother, both his mother and his father, that they exhibit, and they allow him to take his, and this is a bone of contention throughout the movie, his hobby, which Spielberg makes a point of saying, it's not a hobby. It's how I see the world. And, it's because it's set in the 1960s, he is shooting probably on a Super 8. He is editing like the old school with a razor blade and tape. And you get to see the beginnings of, in a very sentimental way, of course, the creation of a great artist. Told through, specifically, a very Jewish lens. And I love Spielberg, and I have not really read a lot about Spielberg. Of course, I know his films very well, but to see him and to see that suffering and to see the films that he's created.
Yeah.
Just fabulous. It's highly recommended. If you like movies at all, I would suggest you go see The Fabelmans. It's out playing in theaters now.
I think we're in a perilous moment when it comes to anti-Semitism.
We are certainly.
I really do.
It's shocking, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, do you remember the first time? I grew up, of course, I grew up in Swissvale. There was one kid in my high school class who was Jewish. No one made anything about it. This guy was our class president. He was fabulous. Of course, he went to Hollywood and he did great. It wasn't until I got to college where I, for the first time, encountered anti-Semitism.
I don't actually remember encountering it.
Really?
I just remember we had a family friend growing up who was Jewish, so that was just part of my understanding all the times that I, can remember. I was never away. It's not like Jewishness was something out there.
It was part of your family.
It was part of it, yeah. And so it didn't seem, plus, I think it also can have to do with where you live, where we spent a lot of time in the city.
Yeah.
And
in Squirrel Hill.
I was in Squirrel Hill so much when I was a kid. So I just think it's not something I claim to understand, but it's certainly nothing I was afraid of or concerned about. And I remember Abraham Sandler, who lives here in Pittsburgh, is a Messianic Jew. He gave me a book by Michael Brown called Our Hands Are Stained with Blood years ago, at least a decade ago. And since then, Michael's become a guest on our show, frequent guest on our show. It is an incredible indictment to read Michael's book. Michael is a Jewish man who's a believer in Jesus, that details how Christians throughout the centuries have reacted to Jews and how much we have to atone for. And by we,
believers.
I just mean believers. I mean, it's an incredibly sad story from a group of people like us who claim a Jewish Messiah. I mean, how ironic is that? It doesn't even make any sense.
Right. I remember walking through.
And that doesn't even get to the cultural realities of Donald Trump and, Kanye and all of that.
Right.
Percolating right now.
Yeah, you do see it here, right, in culture. Do you think, what have we become?
How did Kanye West go from being the guy who was doing the pop-up worship gatherings to this?
It's got to be mental illness. That's my only thing I can ascribe it to, that the guy's just crazy. He's out of his mind. Or he's just such an attention hound that he will say outrageous things just to get attention. I don't know. But, clearly he's destroyed his brand, and probably with that, his empire of the flow of Yeezy shoes and all the apparel that goes along with it. But to think about, I remember being in Squirrel Hill, I've told you this before, and walking up Murray Avenue. I used to buy my newspaper at a newspaper stand that's long since gone. It was a couple of blocks up from Minio's Pizza on the same side of the street. And I was maybe in my late teens, early 20s. And there was a guy outside the newspaper stand, a kid. He was probably, younger than, he was probably 16 or 17. And he was swinging at the guy who ran the newspaper stand, and he was calling him a Jesus killer. And I was like, I couldn't believe what I was actually hearing. I mean, it's one thing, I think, after World War II, you saw the suffering of the Jews, the mass murder, the execution of some 6+ million Jews. There was probably a pause around the globe of anti-Semitism, or at least it was buried. And it lasted that way for a couple of decades. And now you see the rise of anti-Semitism that's on full display. And people are, in some ways, proud of showing their anti-Semitism. I mean, what happened at the Tree of Life should give all of us deep and long and hard pause anytime we hear someone speak out about Jewishness and the hatred of Jews.
Right.
It was here in our backyard.
Right. If there are people listening to us who are believers in Jesus, the best book I can refer you to, other than the Bible, about this is The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. She and her family were committed to the Jews in their city of Harlem and all around there. And it's a story that will inspire and humble all of us, I think.
The Hiding Place.
101.5 WORD.
If you're trying to live the Christian life on your own, you're doing it wrong and you're working way too hard. That's what we learned this week on Through the Bible. Don't miss our journey through the book of Romans. Dr. McGee says it's sure to be one of the most rewarding experiences of our lives.
Through the Bible, this evening at 9 p.m. on 101.5 WORD.
Revival Today Church presents Celebrate the King, a free Christmas event for you and your family. With musical guests Uche Agu, Ron Canoli, Karen Sheard, and Jacqueline Carr, featuring the Revival Today Mass Choir. Along with a word from Pastor Jonathan Shuttlesworth. Saturday, December 17th at the Montour Junction Sports Complex. Doors open at 6. Sign up today at rtcregister.com.
MyPillow's excited to announce the original My Slippers are back in stock. Hey, it's John Hall. Last Christmas, you made My Slippers the #1 selling MyPillow product, and now they've added smaller sizes, larger sizes, wide sizes, and all new colors. What makes My Slippers different is the exclusive 4-layer design that you're not going to find in any other slippers. My Slippers' patented layers make them ultra comfortable, extremely durable, and they help relieve the stress on your feet. Wear them anytime, anywhere, and save $90 off with promo code WORD. That's only $49.98 a pair. You'll absolutely love My Slippers, and now they're also extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2023, making them the best Christmas gift ever. So go to MyPillow.com, use promo code WORD, or call 800-391-0954 now. Again, use promo code WORD to save $90 on the original My Slippers. That's only $49.98 a pair. Quantities won't last long, so please order now.
Train up a child in the way they should go. Well, you know the rest. It's a calling you take very seriously as a Christian parent. And Trinity Christian School in Forest Hills seeks to honor your commitment by working together with parents to prepare students who are academically sound and spiritually ready to take their place in the world through a classical approach to education that helps build a faith from which they will never depart. Trinity Christian School, one of the top K-12 schools in Allegheny County, at trinitychristian.net.
There's nothing like hearing the songs you love on local radio with no subscriptions and no monthly fees. But there's a new bill in Congress that could stop the music. If passed, this bill would tax your local radio station simply to play the music you love. Text LOCAL to 52886 and ask Congress to support local radio stations. Help us keep you connected to the music, local news, weather, and traffic that you need each day. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Is giving thanks vital to spiritual and physical health? What do you think?
Well, the first thing I would say is no, because those are two different realities. But after this conversation that we had at the top of 5 o'clock, or at the end of the 4 o'clock hour, I guess it was.
About age and health.
Right. And how people who think younger outperform in their older years by 13 years those who, quote unquote, feel their age. Mm-hmm. It makes me think that things are much more connected than I had previously allowed for.
Peter Hill's with us. He's a professor of psychology at Biola University. He conducts research in the psychology of religion as it relates to the development of such virtues as humility, gratitude, and forgiveness. He co-wrote a piece that appeared in Christianity Today called The Science of Giving Thanks to God. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I look forward to being with you here today.
All right, Peter. So is there a science to this?
Yes, there is. There's research that's been going on, empirical research by psychologists, often informed by the work that theologians and philosophers do to give us a good conceptual grounding. And most of that research has been on a human-to-human level. It's been how we express gratitude and experience gratitude toward others. But recently, with some support from the John Templeton Foundation, we've begun to look at, do the same principles, do the same processes apply to our relationship with God, a vertical relationship. After all, God is our supreme benefactor.
So then, Peter, are you saying the studies find that the more grateful you are to God, the happier and perhaps healthier you'll be?
Yes. We have had a team of about 25 different researchers working over the last 3 years, and not all of them were studying that particular aspect of gratitude to God. But those that did found that there was a relationship that was there. We always have to be careful. We're not so sure that gratitude is causing these things. It might be the other way around, that these things are causing gratitude, or that there are other factors that are involved. But the relationship, the association is there.
What about the thing that's borne out in so many lives, borne out in my own life? I hazard to say it's borne out in most believers' lives, that suffering does produce some type of closeness with God or awareness of God that isn't present at times of not so great suffering. Is there something that science can tell us about that?
I think there is. I mean, it's obvious that it's easier to be thankful to God under the best of times. And I think we just have to be upfront and be honest with ourselves that it's hard sometimes to be grateful in the face of suffering or adversity. It's not natural. It's going to require some effort. And part of it is that we tend to focus so much. We're very problem-focused people, and we tend to focus so much on the problems, even just in everyday, ordinary living, never mind about if we're suffering through something. And there was a very influential article that a psychologist about 20 years ago wrote that after looking at a vast array, an immense amount of psychological literature, bad is stronger than good. And so I think it's a very relevant question that you raise, and that is, if we have this focus on what is always wrong with life, then we have to ask, well, what is that? What does that tell us? How should we be grateful? So I think there's some real guiding questions, I guess, that we could ask, like, how is God present in this challenge? Or what is God trying to do with me or say to me through this challenge or this adversity or this suffering that I'm going through? Or how do I experience God uniquely through this challenge? How does this challenge make me closer to God?
So is there any way then to quantify this? I mean, I get it from sort of like, from a spiritual perspective. As a believer, you give thanks, and it just becomes a habit of giving thanks. But then, Peter, you're saying in studies, say there are two people who suffer the same sort of tragedy, whether, they're in an auto accident together or something. One person's a believer, one person's not. There is a distinct difference in how they would look at that tragedy?
certainly there could be a distinct difference. I'm not so sure that it always happens that way,
Sure.
but there could be a distinct difference. And one of the things that we do in the science of gratitude is that we try to talk with people and measure. You use the word, how do you measure this? And we often rely upon self-reports. We rely upon what they tell us. Often we have a series of questions, different items that are really designed to give us some sort of picture of how a person's attitude or behavior is playing out with regards to how they respond to certain things, including events like what you've described. We also rely upon what we call qualitative research, which is simply doing interviews with people and trying to give them the opportunity to openly express what they were going through. And from that, we look for patterns of responses that people give to us.
So the responses that people give, Peter, do you feel like it's that they are each one kind of in process? You know, that they're kind of giving you a window into how they are, going day to day?
Yes, I think that's one way of describing what we're trying to do. Sometimes we're getting a snapshot at a given period of time. For instance, right after they first learn that something bad might be happening in their own life. Sometimes it's in the face of global crises and events, such as for many of us. Even though we're far removed from Ukraine, for example, that affects us, and it affects sometimes our perception. So we might be asking, given this situation in life, what is your assessment of what's going on in the world, and how does that affect your relationship with God? Does it tend to cause you to think more about that relationship? Do you view it as a challenge, even though it's not something that you personally face?
Yes. So gratitude, then, it's something that can be, if not taught, it can be strengthened. Is that true?
I think so. I think gratitude is really something that, for good things, for benefits, when we recognize a benefit and see it, and sometimes benefits are obvious, it's a natural thing for us to express. The problem is when a benefit is not obvious, yes. When a benefit is very subtle, and that's often the way it works with our Lord. It's somewhat like on a much different level what we might experience with our children. We know something is good for them. They might not see that benefit. As a matter of fact, they might see it as a rule or something that they don't appreciate. But it's there. It is a benefit. And that's the reason why those guiding questions I mentioned earlier are so important.
Yeah, that benefit that might be incremental also. It might seem incremental at the time. I think that's really valuable looking back on my own experience. And it was maybe, 8 or 9 years ago, I fell down the basement steps and I just blew out my ankle. And it was a bad injury. It took a long time to rehab from. But I remember going to the physical therapist the first time. This was maybe 7 days post-injury. And I remember sitting down with him and he said, I want you to do this exercise. Well, it was the dumbest exercise, Peter. It was just so, I was like that. Like I paid a $30 copay so you could tell me this. That was really stupid. First of all, the first shock to me was that I couldn't do it. So then I probably thought I should back off a little bit on my first assessment. But then after that, it still seemed so little and so like just a waste of my time. Over the months, I couldn't believe the effect that little stupid exercise had on me. And so I'm just guessing from what you're saying that in a spiritual sense, it's the same way with us.
Yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, I've heard the term used among psychologists that a virtue such as gratitude is really a moral muscle. And so your example is perfect. because it goes to show that, once you practice something, sometimes it requires a lot of effort and maybe even pain along the way. But once you continue to practice it, and this is just one of the real virtues of gratitude, you just practice it, even when you don't feel like it, it often starts to come around. A social psychologist by the name of David Myers, who's really highly respected, he has a saying. He says that we can, just as we can think ourselves into a way of acting, we can act ourselves into a way of thinking. So the fact that you had to just simply go through repeatedly the reparation process for your ankle, I think we do that psychologically as well.
That's interesting. So I can act as if, right? If I follow along, I will do this as if I am grateful. I will be, and you can talk yourself into gratitude in some way?
I think so. That sounds, almost, legalistic or something such as that, but it works. And I think that's one of the real values of just simply practicing different things, including, like, for instance, worship. Yeah. Because sometimes you don't feel like worshiping. Yeah. And yet, once you practice that and you just do that, often your attitude comes around.
That's so true. I was at worship yesterday, and I was looking around, and I was thinking, man, it's exactly it. There are many times I go, what am I even doing here? And then there are times like yesterday, I'm like, I can't believe I'm here. I love this so much. And I often wonder about people. The church I worship is in a college town, and I often think about somebody's walking by the church on a Sunday morning, and they have no relationship to Jesus at all, and they wander in and sit down, and you think, what do they think? Someone walks into worship who is never schooled in the Christian church, and what they're experiencing, they have to think that, this is crazy talk, what's going on there. The idea of sin and salvation, and we're singing and praising. I mean, I love it so much, but it is a language and a skill set that requires some sort of repetitive thing to go through again and again and again, that we absorb it, and then eventually, of course, I'll raise my hand, it changes you for the better.
It does. It does. I challenge the listeners to sometime when they just don't feel like it. And I have that same experience. There are times on it, like, for instance, a Sunday morning or even in personal worship just throughout the week. I just don't feel up to it. I don't feel like going, it'd be nice just to sleep in or whatever. And just take a snapshot of where you were at that moment, and take a snapshot of yourself at the end of a worship hour. And in most cases, you will start to come around. That's so true. Maybe even strongly.
Yeah, except that doesn't happen to me online church.
Online church, no.
Isn't that interesting?
No.
It just doesn't work that way for me.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's different, and it's part of that is just entering into the worship. Most of us on online, so if we're singing, I don't sing well, so I don't want to sing online because I hear myself too well. And so it's the act that's so important here. And that's sometimes what we don't do. Instead, we're drinking a cup of coffee or getting up and doing other things while we are engaged in worship when it's online.
So, Peter, you've spent a considerable amount of your academic life thinking about gratitude. What do you think? I mean, you have to be a pretty grateful person, yeah?
I hope I am, but you know something? Just because I study it doesn't mean I practice it like I should.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it is something that I'm very much aware of, and it's at the forefront of much of my thinking, and I try. It affects my behavior, I think.
That's Peter Hill, professor of psychology at Biola University. He's working on research in the psychology of religion, particularly as it relates to the development of such virtues as humility, gratitude, and forgiveness. And Peter, we're grateful that you were able to share your findings with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, the pleasure's ours. Grateful that you're here. The science of giving thanks to God. We'll take a quick break. The daily feature, Does This Make Sense? That's next on The Ride Home.
If your family depends on your income and something happened to you, what would happen to them? You need life insurance, and SelectQuote can help you get it at a price you can afford.
SelectQuote found Jacob, 40, who's in excellent health, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month.
Not in perfect health? Don't worry.
SelectQuote found Tanya, 40, who has type 2 diabetes, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $32 a month.
We shop companies like Protective, Prudential, American General, and others to find you the company with the best rates. Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford.
For your free quote, call 1-800-880-7474. That's 1-800-880-7474. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-880-7474.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
MyPillow is excited to bring you the biggest bedding sale ever just in time for Christmas. Hey, it's John Hall. Get the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98. A set of pillowcases for only $9.98. And rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. They also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles. They even have blankets for your pets. Get duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more, all with the biggest discounts ever. They're also extending their money-back guarantee for Christmas until March 1st, 2023, making them the perfect gifts for your friends, your family, everyone you know. So go to MyPillow.com, use promo code WORD, or call 800-391-0954. You'll get huge discounts on all MyPillow bedding products, including the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98. And get all your shopping done now while quantities last.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold, the highest-rated precious metals firm in the country. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Ask Alexa to play the word Pittsburgh to hear us there. We're on your Google speaker, too. Plus iHeart, TuneIn, and on Odyssey. 101.5 WORD-FM, Pittsburgh.
Let's face it, we love Alexa, and we'd love to let her find your favorite radio station. This one, of course. She could find us easier if we taught her a simple skill. To get started, simply say, Alexa, enable the word Pittsburgh skill. And after she confirms, you can then say, Alexa, play the word Pittsburgh. That's all you have to do, and Alexa will learn how to find us. You can listen to us through your Amazon Echo, Echo Show, Echo Dot, and Amazon Tap devices. Alexa, what is your favorite radio station?
That's easy. Word 101.5.
We'll see thickening clouds tonight with a touch of rain late. Low 39. Occasional rain and drizzle tomorrow. Tomorrow's high 49. Considerable cloudiness tomorrow night with a couple of showers, mainly later. Low 47. Wednesday, cloudy and milder with a shower. We'll reach a high Wednesday of 58. Cloudy skies Thursday. Expect a high Thursday of 52. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm Drew Shannon.
Does this make sense?
Does what make sense?
Wearing your pajamas at home. And of course you'd say, well, of course I wear my pajamas at home. I mean, whenever you're at home, you're wearing pajamas.
Like on a Monday night?
Yep. On a Saturday, Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's your home. And you want to be as relaxed and as comfortable in your home as possible. So if that suits you, go for it.
I appreciate the freedom that you've given me, John, because whenever I'm not here or out and about or, you know, being a professional person, I want you to know that I'm wearing my pajamas at home.
Are you? Do you have like some special pairs?
No, I have multiple pairs.
Do you?
I mean, I have like 5 sets of pajamas because I'm always wearing them
Committed
when I'm not here. Yeah. So if you stop by, I just want you to know that's what's going to...
Company's coming.
It doesn't matter. I'm wearing them.
What would happen if there's like an emergency?
I thought of that.
Right? All of a sudden you're Grace Hall standing in your bathing suit.
Exactly. I have thought of that very thing. Right? I keep a pair of jeans in an important place. I do.
That's smart.
They're always draped over a chair.
Oh,
so if I need that, like if someone comes to the front, I forgot I made an appointment or whatever.
It's like the panic bag.
I'm putting them on. I'm good with that.
That's very nice.
But
generally,
I think that wearing PJs when you're at home makes sense.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, does this make sense? outdoor Christmas lights. Now, this weekend, I hung my lights.
You did?
By myself. Usually, I have the help of one of my kids, but, they're not there. So there I am, and what I do is I get up on the porch railings.
That is such a horrible idea.
And then string them, and then I have a little gun, pop, 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 and I'm literally, my wife was like, please don't do that. But you know what? When it was all said and done, it didn't take me that long. It took me about an hour or so. It looks great, and I love it. But here's the thing. Most people are not putting Christmas lights up anymore.
Yeah.
When we were kids, our parents used to drive us around. We would go through neighborhoods, and you go, oh, my good, Now, you're an outlier if you have Christmas lights up, at least in my neighborhood. Does it make sense to you?
First of all, yes, it makes sense. And if you want to see a neighborhood that does it up, you come to my neighborhood. Because
really?
The people I live around are invested.
See, that's interesting.
It's a lot.
It can become infectious.
It's something else.
Does it make sense?
It does make sense. Now, I don't do it.
It's okay.
But that's just because I just am lazy.
No, it's okay. Just some people, it's part of your tradition. It's always been part of our family tradition. So I like
endorse
Christmas
it.
lights.
I think that it does make sense. You standing up on that railing does not.
WORD. Hey everybody, it's Charlie Kirk here. In the battle for America's Christian values, we at TPUSA Faith have stood strong in helping generations of Americans to defend their faith. Now we need your support to help us finish the year strong, ready to advance the biblical values in 2023. Would you help us defend faith and freedom right now with a tax-deductible donation? When you do, thanks to a generous $75,000 matching donation, your best gift will be doubled. Give today and help Christians stand strong in their faith.
Support Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA now at wordfm.com/faith.
For most of us, it's hard to even look at. We've all seen the images of a hungry child. She can barely move because that hunger has left her exhausted, lifeless. There's a name for this. It's severe acute malnutrition. Save the Children works in poor areas and cares for the child you're thinking of right now. But they can't do it without you. Just $30 a month can help save children for less than $1 a day, whether it's providing emergency nutrition or protecting children fleeing from the war in Ukraine, or a child in need in any of the other 120 countries around the world where Save the Children works. Your $30 a month can change everything for a child who's suffering. Call 888-884-4836. That's 888-884-4836, or give online at savechildrentoday.org.
Train up a child in the way they should go. Well, you know the rest. It's a calling you take very seriously as a Christian parent. And Trinity Christian School in Forest Hills seeks to honor your commitment by working together with parents to prepare students who are academically sound and spiritually ready to take their place in the world through a classical approach to education that helps build a faith from which they will never depart. Trinity Christian School, one of the top K-12 schools in Allegheny County, at trinitychristian.net.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv.
Have you found the perfect gift for everyone on your shopping list this Christmas? If not, you might consider the gift of a good night's sleep from the Original Mattress Factory. This is Greg Trzynski. Our factory direct business model allows us to provide a better quality product at a better price than mainstream mattress retailers. Also, because our beds are hand-built in local factories, there's an added benefit of supporting a local business. Stop by and gift someone special with an Original Mattress Factory bed that they will enjoy for years to come.
People are amazing. I mean, they really are. And this is my favorite time of year for a lot of reasons. One of them is that people release their lists. best movies of the year, best books of the year, all those kind of things. A guy who's a blogger, his name's Tom Whitwell. Every year,
managing consultant at Magnetic.
What is Magnetic? I don't know.
It's a company that helps clients solve big problems and develop better products.
Okay. He publishes this thing. He's been doing it for, I think, a decade. 52 Things I Learned. So this is his list for 52 things I learned in 2022.
Yeah.
Now, we can go through a few of these because some of them are very they're fascinating and confounding. Here, let me see. I'll give you one here. And then it has, to me, an unpronounceable Chinese name, is an electrical floor shaker sold on Taobao used to get revenge on noisy neighbors.
What? So you're mad at your neighbors and you
you buy this floor shaker and you probably turn it on and it just runs around your apartment going boom, 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 boom. So
that's really funny.
That is funny.
That's
you're
really
noisy. Your neighbors are noisy. I'll show you. I've got something else that'll just rock your floor. Okay. You got something?
Yeah, I have one. During a French Navy exercise, a frigate was virtually destroyed despite radio silence. And this was an exercise that they were doing. Okay, let me just this was not a major military maneuver that you missed reading about in the news. The virtual enemy was able to roughly locate the ship via a real active Snapchat account from one of the sailors.
Are you kidding me? Oh, that's super cool.
We spend a lot of time talking about, Twitter's terrible and mean and Facebook's ridiculous and Mark Zuckerberg's awful and all that. We don't spend a lot of time talking about Snapchat and how it's a dangerous thing to have on your phone.
I don't have it.
I don't have it either.
No. Okay, how about this? Count Things. Capital COUNT, capital THINGS. Count Things is a very successful app that counts things. It costs $120 a month.
Holy cow.
The template page shows the things that people pay to count.
What do you mean?
I'm not sure. I have to go to the Count Things app. You're paying to count what? For industry? Right?
Oh, like large scale counting.
Yeah, heavy duty counting, right?
It's not like you and I are going to pay $120 a month for an app that's going to count what? Like how? You know what I would like somebody to count for me, though? And I know that there are apps that do this. I need to just figure out what my subscriptions are.
Oh, that thing.
I mean, off the top of my head, I know what they are. I've got my Netflix.
Sure.
But does one sneak through every once in a while and you think, I forgot that I had that?
Don't worry, my wife will find it. Oh,
my husband will find it.
She will find it. Hey, what's this reoccurring charge? And you go, right. Okay, how about this? Heaven banning. Heaven banning is a hypothetical way to moderate social networks. Instead of being thrown off the platform, bad actors have all their followers replaced with psychopathic AI models that constantly agree and praise them. Real humans never interact with them.
Oh, so they're banned from having any interaction with other people.
And everybody
just loves everything they say.
How does that even work?
I think that's what some of our leaders want.
Yeah, of course.
I think that's kind of what they're going for.
Yeah.
Okay, listen to this. Fondue. How do you feel about it?
Well, it's been a long time since I've had fondue. I mean, it was a thing for a while. We don't have like a fondue pot, do you? I'd like to have some fondue.
So it was popularized in what, 70s?
Probably late 60s, early 70s. I remember being in college and we bought at a yard sale a fondue maker, and we had little cubes of beef.
And you have the long forks.
Yeah, exactly. And it was fun. We sat around and did But I know people still do fondue parties. I like the idea of it. Cheese fondue, right?
Beef, right?
But
chocolate.
Oh, I would love to do that.
Right. Well, it was the whole idea of fondue was popularized by a Swiss cheese cartel.
So I'll make as much cheese as.
Yeah. I mean, look at what it created.
Yeah.
I mean, an incredible sensation. I went to a fondue restaurant.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There used to be one at
Station Square.
Yeah, but I went to one I went to a French one in Quebec City.
A French fondue place?
Yeah.
Really?
It was it was like way nicer than I had any right being in. To
Was
be
it
honest
good?
with
I
you.
bet it was delicious.
It was super rich. I got to be honest with you. It was a little too much.
Would you have to eat a lot to get your fill?
Well, but what you're eating just seems to feel very heavy
Big blobs of cheese
upon your exit from the restaurant.
Mm-hmm. This is weird. In 1739, there were 3 times more coffee shops per person in London than there are today.
That can't be.
How could that even be? How many Starbucks are in London? 1739. So coffee probably exploded, right? It was a new thing.
Well, wait, does that mean because it's not tea?
Yeah. Yeah, because you think everybody in London's drinking tea. So how did they switch from coffee to tea? I don't understand. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Here's another one. Wasps are hand-reared by villagers in Kashihara, Japan, where wasp tempura,
wasp tempura,
and grilled sticky rice is coated in a sauce made of miso, peanuts, and wasp larvae.
You had me until you had wasp larvae.
Now, not only that, but it's our
you,
fan
sir.
likes it. That's the dish to have if you go there. That's like
their specialty.
It's like coming to Pittsburgh and having pierogies.
Get out.
It's like you go and you have the miso, peanuts, and wasp larvae.
Yikes. Where's this?
In Kashihara, Japan.
Mm-hmm. No thanks. Okay, how about this? Fees from music playing on Peloton are a top 10 account for pretty much all major record labels right now.
Really? That many people are using a Peloton?
The music fees? Maybe that tells you the decline of the music business, more so about the rise of Peloton.
It could.
Right?
It could. But that still has to indicate a tremendous number of people who are using that music feature on Peloton.
Yeah. When I see those Peloton ads on TV, it scares me. I think, no, I don't want somebody yelling at me while I'm exercising or like, come on, while you're on a spin bike.
Right.
I don't think I could do that.
Have you ever taken a spin class?
No.
Me neither.
But I've spun on my bike for decades.
Yeah.
But with a group of people, I don't feel that pressure. All of a sudden, I feel like, I'm in the Tour de France. I'm surrounded by people sitting.
What about your arms?
What about them?
What about if you're committed to that much exercise on a bike?
Yeah.
Which is tremendous and way more than I could ever do right now.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say it's nothing. It's incredible. But you're not working out your upper body.
Yeah.
Or you are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You're holding onto that bike for dear
all
life.
you have.
And, if you're a professional cyclist or you're a serious cyclist, you'd be surprised at the amount of upper body strength you have because you're holding onto those bars and different in the front, on the side. Then you stand. You get a lot of body activity.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'm shocked by this. 70% of Gen Z viewers watch videos with subtitles.
Oh.
Now,
I love subtitles.
But in my background, subtitles were for people who were old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no one young ever used subtitles unless you were watching a foreign film.
Right.
But my daughter uses subtitles all the time.
You'd be surprised. Do you use them?
Well, I just started to because I'm watching a couple British shows.
Yes, of course.
And based on where they're located, I have a hard time understanding
We
what they're
always
saying.
have subtitles on.
Do
Your
you?
show does on YouTube.
Oh, we have subtitles on YouTube.
You can have it.
Oh, very good.
Okay, so Gary, do you use subtitles?
No.
Oh, I do. You'd be surprised what's music that's playing, that supports the soundtrack, or sound effects. I love subtitles.
Really?
Yeah, but you're looking at the wrong place.
Right, that's what I was
it's
thinking.
not true.
On
It's
the
a skill set.
screen.
It's just a skill set.
What if the action is happening in the upper left-hand corner at that moment of the
And you're
screen, but
trying
you're
to watch
looking at
down
the
at the
bottom
bottom.
I
at
get
the
what you're saying.
subtitle?
I get what you're saying, but it's a quick thing. Bump, bump. It happens. You're reading in a microsecond.
And what's the advantage?
To get all of the dialogue or all of the events that are happening.
Okay.
Does that surprise you, Gary? 70% of Gen Z viewers are watching videos with subtitles.
Yeah, well, I've heard of that before. I didn't realize it was that high, but I think it's because they're multitasking, doing
Well, I
other
wonder.
things.
It doesn't say here why that is, which I would like to look into. But they said that's why the team at Netflix worked so hard, extra hard, on the subtitles for Stranger Things when it came out.
Very good. Very good. All right, we're doing 50 Things I Learned in 2022. In August, the world's largest hog hotel opened in Hubei, China.
Oh, no.
Up to 600,000 pigs live in the 26-story tower block, eventually producing 54,000 tons of pork per year. The site has twice as much floor space as the Shard Hotel in London. 600,000 pigs in a 26-story building.
That's got to be a joke there somewhere.
That's a lot of pork. Holy smokes.
All right.
Wait, one more thing.
Okay, I'm ready.
37% of the world's population, 2.9 billion people, have never used the internet.
I wish I was one of them.
And you can watch The Ride Home on YouTube at The Word Pittsburgh.
We've only done 12 of the things.
That's incredible.
That Tom Woodhull's done.
That's incredible. We're going to step aside when we come back. Records that tumbled in 2022.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I sell custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters that are easy to install at prices less than big box retailers. Blindster blinds are custom-made for your windows, and I guarantee they'll fit. Don't hire a pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
We are everywhere on your radio at 101.5 WORD FM Pittsburgh, at wordfm.com, the Word FM mobile app, iHeart, TuneIn, and Odyssey.
Why does Trinity Jewelers' Mark Helgerman advertise on Word FM?
Every year we've grown. Every year has gotten better. I attribute that directly to the advertising. Word FM can give you something that no other station can give you because as Christian brother and sisters, a relationship is formed through that radio and through the advertising, and that person will drive past 20 other jewelers to come and see us. There's no question Word FM has been huge for Trinity Jewelers. I mean, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are if it wasn't for Word FM. It has created such a business base for us because it's made us larger than just your neighborhood jeweler. It's made us citywide. I feel like in a lot of cases with other advertising venues that it's more just make the sale, get them to advertise, whereas I think at Word, there's no question. I feel like Word FM is committed to making the businesses they advertise for a success.
Isn't it time you advertised on Word FM? Call 412-937-1500.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Wiggins, a teacher in Gilmore City Bradgate School District in Iowa. Thanks to a science, technology, engineering, and math grant sponsored by Bear Fund, we renovated an old locker room into a monarch butterfly incubator, providing students with access to innovative technology that engages and inspires them. I encourage farmers to nominate a school district to apply for a $15,000 Grow Rural Education grant by visiting americasfarmers.com.
According to MSN, 2022 was a year of tumbling. Records were broken for any number of things. How about this? North Korea fired a record number of missiles into the Sea of Japan in response to a large-scale joint military exercise. An intense peak saw North Korea fire 23 missiles in a 24-hour period on November 22nd. How about that?
How do I read the news every day and not like I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Marilyn Monroe was a big hitter. One of her photo portraits by Andy Warhol sold for $195 million, making it the most expensive 20th century artwork. Andy Warhol, Marilyn Monroe.
That's crazy. We're talking about records that tumbled in 2022.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. In November, the world's population, which numbered 2.5 billion in 1950, exceeded 8 billion. Yeah, you knew that, right? And they're saying 9 billion here in maybe a decade or so.
Not if Japan has anything to say about it.
The art collection of Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen, which included works by Cezanne, Klimt, Van Gogh.
Which is a shocking collection by one person. When you read about it, I couldn't even get my head around what he owned.
Do you think he had them in a house?
I don't know.
A mansion somewhere?
Or 5 mansions? You'd need 5 mansions to show that.
His entire art collection sold for $1.62 billion. Well, look, I mean,
shocking.
If one piece of Marilyn Monroe sold for $195 million.
Right, yeah. Right? You're looking at Cezanne or Monet or whatever. They're going to bring in a lot of cash.
Of course, you knew this. After 70 years on the throne, this record tumbled. Britain's longest-serving monarch passed away age 96. 70 years on the throne. We'll never see that again.
No.
Right? Before her massive state funeral, an estimated 250,000 people queued around the clock to view the coffin as it lay in state. I don't know. Do you know the band Midnights?
I don't.
The 10th album by the U.S. megastar Midnights. Who are they? Caused such a frenzy that Spotify broke down as more fans sought to listen to it over a single day than any other album. The Midnights? I've never heard of the Midnight. No, don't think.
Yeah.
I'm still listening to Steely Dan. So
is it the Midnight? Singular?
No, they're saying Midnights.
Okay.
Midnights. Do you see it?
Yeah. It says it's the Midnight.
Okay.
Tyler Lyle, a songwriter from the Deep South, and Tim McEwen, a producer from Denmark.
Really?
Yeah, I have to say, I don't know anything about
What kind
them.
of music would that be, I wonder?
Well, it says it's synthwave band.
Synth?
Yeah.
Is that
Tyler Lyle's based in Atlanta.
Is that like, what's the Christmas band? You know.
The Christmas band?
Yeah, you know. They always come out at Christmas time. A Siberian.
Oh, that thing. Yeah.
Isn't that synthy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of. Is it the same sort of thing?
I have no idea.
People love that stuff, don't they?
We're giving away tickets.
Yeah.
Oh, we are. We're giving away tickets.
The Royal Siberian Orchestra?
We are.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So don't make fun of them.
Wow. Well, what does somebody care what John thinks about this?
Yeah.
They sell like about 10 million tickets
I might be in management's office tomorrow.
For crying out loud.
I'm just saying, it's not my cup of tea.
No, it's okay. The Midnight's not your thing either. I have to look them up tonight and figure out what we're missing out on.
Say goodnight, John.
Good night, Gary.
Good night, John.
Ride Home with John and Kathy, a production of Salem Media Group.
This is Jerry Boyer for Townhall.com. Former Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke was recently